between viOLet and Sortof. We are at the North American Star League Season 4 Finals, where viOLet currently leads 2-1 in this best-of-7 series. We're going over to Whirlwind,
which is a very weird map in this matchup. Honestly, this is one of the matches where I would say I'm going to de-emphasize building the Hydralisks. You don't have space control the way you do on a map like Ohana, where you can move along this lane and see, oh, there's this whole army. Yeah. If he tries to go around, I'll kill an expansion before I pull back. On this map, it's very easy to just only counterattack. I give the heavy favoritism to viOLet on this matchup.
Definitely so, as he is the more experienced with those counterattacks, with those tiny attacks all over the place. Also, I feel like Zergling Ultralisk is going to be a very hard style. Your natural, your third, very open, especially your third base, so it's hard to really take that and defend it with Spine Crawlers and Infestors. So we're going to see probably just mass Roach coming out from both these players, although I would love to see interpretations of different styles. We'll see. Mutas are definitely a possibility.
Already, we're seeing them spawn out in the closest positions. Down in the bottom right after an impressive 3-0 versus TSL Hyun. He is now down 1-2 in this series, and he needs your cheers to keep going. From Sweden and Team Western Wolves, it is Sortof.
And with a little Korean charm, we have in the top right-hand position one of the most aggressive Zergs to date, but also showing different styles, not only in standard styles, but in really cute build order aggression. We have a Zubu viOLet. I'm going to pass it over to you.
I'm ready.
What type of style do you like to see if you're ever playing ZVZ? On this map, of course.
I mean, in general, I'm always a fan of Mutalisk-based plays, as you can end up taking some rapid series of expansions and relying on Infestors for defense. But specifically on Whirlwind, I'm much a fan of heavy Roach-focused attacks and counter-attacks. Due to the fact that you have really no coordination over a lot of your defensive strangleholds. I mean, this, you could argue, is the place that you use to defend your natural back here and your third, but of course the third has this other giant entrance over here, so it becomes a nightmare to get a fourth base. And in fact, I think that the strongest way to get it is either with Mutalisks into Infestors or with just crazy Roach aggression. So I really hope we end up seeing that in the sort of the style of Lenok.
Yeah, and even a Roach aggression, I think, is very difficult because you need that Glitter Constitution to move around the map. Of course, there was a Centurion, or excuse me, 6 seasons. In the event that you are far away positions, it's actually very, very difficult to really rely on that, let's say, slow Roach that's really only going to be defensive for you. Although there are a couple builds that rely on getting, fast +1, staying on hatchery tech, and then getting your third base super fast. You have a supercharged economy, and then from there you can just explode and try to do that very aggressive style of ground units. But as we have it right now, I'm sure we're going to see the very standard Zergling Baneling openings. The natural features a very wide open area where you can, snake around, try to do a little bit of damage to the drone count, and also try to sneak up into the main.
I want to come over to Sortof's base and just walk along the paths and all the problems he's going to have as he starts to move out.
Sure.
I almost feel that the best third for him to take would be this expansion.
Oh,
if he
really?
wants to do a Hydralisk-focused aggression,
okay, yeah,
then it becomes a lot easier to, say, do some sort of defensive line here, but mainly just Overlord, 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 and this is the way to defend against Roach counterattacks. And then you have this very simple attack path just up this hill and then into your opponent's base.
Sure.
But if you take this as the third base as no matter where you move out, there's just so many different lines to sweep in from. I mean, you can even do things where you position 5 Roaches here and then just sweep on in. And this watchtower doesn't really cover that much on this map, so it's very, very Overlord speed focused, which is another one of the reasons why Mutalisks are very popular on this map.
And I've seen viOLet do things like double Nidus play, and even something like that would be so effective on a map like this. Don't get me wrong, it's not too common that I see this as the build to do a build like that. So don't count that out as well. That would be an amazing way to deal with the mass Hydra strategy, especially with such a big map like Whirlwind. It's hard to walk off creep and then not be penalized for that. And
Yeah.
I really feel like Nidus Worm is going to be one of the most important things on this map.
I actually completely forgot that the Nidus Worm even existed. That is an incredibly good point about the Nidus Worm. I mean, there's these big vulnerabilities here, and the fact is, if you have speedier units and you have more map control, it's incredibly easy to judge whether to retreat from the Nidus network, to plant the Nidus network, to go for it. viOLet, very well known for that. Sort of getting a little bit earlier of an extra queen, just needs that extra defense up, but doesn't want to spend his larva on it.
And look at these two players teching up straight to lair. We might see dual, I'm going to say dual infestation pits.
I'm going to say Infestation Pit from Sortof and Spire from viOLet. This map just really is
Love to see that.
Excellent
I would
for a Spire
absolutely love
opening.
to see that. But we're going to see in a couple moments right now, Lair is finished for both these players. Wow, Spire going down for Sortof, and Spire going down for viOLet.
Oh.
Baby, oh baby. I love air versus air battles, Sean.
Oh gosh, I mean, I'm especially excited to see not just, the usual Roach Infestor Hydra versus Roach Infestor Hydra. I mean, both players have demonstrated that they're excellent at that. And what I really want to see is these players have very, very fast units.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you that the glaives are actually one of the most important things when you're going air versus air. A lot of times people don't realize that those glaives do bounce off and do a significant amount of damage. That's why Carapace is normally focused on. On top of that, it actually is a big reason why you should try to take ground control. And that sounds a little bit weird, but if you have ground control, you shove your Zerglings, your own Zerglings, underneath the mutas, and the glaives will bounce onto the Zerglings. So if you do have ground control, technically your mutas, if you go muta versus muta, you have more.
This is not actually going very well for viOLet.
Whoa.
He did get a nice connection there, but there's a lot more Zerglings coming in for Sortof. But man, viOLet just does not want to let him get that third base up. This is just fantastic if he's able to take this out. Two more Baneleys. These are going to have to be enormous. Oh, one's good. And another excellent connection. Sortof deflects the aggression.
Mutas are on the way out for both these players, though. A little bit faster for viOLet, but you can see very comparable numbers, very equal numbers for both these players. So neither of them will be able to do direct damage, but if viOLet or Sortof can get into the economic line just once or twice, kill a couple drones, back up, that's already paying for itself. Mutas are shown to Sortof immediately.
Whoa. And now, is Sortof going to cancel this Infestation Pit and Roach Warren? I mean, it's he does cancel the Infestation Pit.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows how desperately you need all of the gas dumped into Mutas.
You only can go Infestation Pit if you have your 5th and 6th gas with Spore Crawlers all over the place, else those Mutas are just going to whelm you completely. With only 4 gas openings, a lot of space that you have to defend, especially 3 expansions, so I think that's a perfect idea. You can see Zerglings are following all these mutas as well.
Oh, looks like
really nicely.
Oh, stepping in. Wants to get a little bit more air control.
Are going to town on these overlords. Yum, yum, yum.
And right now, this is working out excellently for Sortof, and it looks like in the engagement, Sortof gets an excellent target fire, but again, the red Zerglings underneath here are absorbing some of the damage and a straight, but Sortof amazingly is ahead by 2 Mutalisks.
Yeah, but those 2 Mutalisks are like in the back. They're not actually with that big group. But 5th and 6th gases are being taken by both these players. I like what we're seeing so far. Who's going to be the person that switches over the Infestation Pit? I have to feel like it is Sortof the person that kind of wants to get out of this air versus air battle. Can't see him liking this aggression and constant aggression. He is more of the precision-based scalpel Zerg, I would say.
The most common way to transition out is to get to kind of a where it's 30 versus 34 Mutalisks, and then you end up switching over. But also, if you're looking for a quicker transition, you can get the 3 or 4 Corruptors, same gas investment, but they pack a little bit bigger of a punch, and then switch on over to Roach and or Infestor. And it's a little bit difficult for your opponent to engage, and it's a little bit more mobile. But right now, Sortof is just trying to sweep around, find any angle he can.
That's a lot of mutas for viOLet, though.
Oh my gosh, it's all going to come down to can these Zerglings from Sortof, because right now viOLet is going to dominate in the battle.
Yes, sir, and he's trying to scoot and shoot there. He's doing a good job. viOLet is going to receive a little bit of damage in the main base, but there are more Zerglings coming over. But the muta count is just surprisingly high for viOLet. This is going to be very hard to stop. Wow, the drones are getting picked off so easily at the main base. Will sort of be able to stop this.
I mean, right now, viOLet's basically saying, you have such little air, I will definitely win if I do a push. An amazing transfuse on a near-dead unit. It looks like that drone damage was considerable. In fact, 14 workers killed off, but viOLet still has the tremendous supply lead.
Now it is 7 mutas to 15 mutas, just 5 more finished for viOLet. He has the advantage, now taking off a lot of overlords over here. viOLet definitely looks like he has the advantage. Income tab showing very similar drone counts. But let's look at the units lost. Just slightly more, about 1,100.
But it's still important to note that almost all of that is in mutalist, which is why it is 17 to 9. And again, the only real solution you can have is to take the risk that Sortof's taking.
Yes.
You could go Corruptor. Corruptors are extremely good against other mutalisks, but with this infestation going down, this is a big risk. He's going to have to play defensive and have to hope to land an absolutely gorgeous fungal growth.
It's still going to be very, very difficult. Now, he does have his drone saturated at the third base, so he has a very large mineral income. He could throw down spores, he could get a lot of queens, but it's still a very dicey situation that he has right now, as viOLet is starting to mobilize, really, really percolating with that attack. And he's going to see himself over at the third base.
Yep, is the decision for Sortof. His infestation pit is done. But if this Zergling attack manages to do enough damage, it's going to be quite difficult. Mutal's heading up into the main base. Oh, viOLet with the classic 1-2 punch. Absolutely phenomenal play.
And this is going to be a crushing blow, both at the third base and the main. You can see the spine crawl is going down. All these drones will be eliminated very, very fast. In the meantime, the Queen's trying to waddle all the way over to the main base, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough. Nice, though, coming out from Sortof, but there's just too much
so
DPS.
Many mutalisks. Oh, and there's the GG. viOLet takes the series to 3-1.
And again, nothing super out of the ordinary, just doing more intelligent things with his units. Keeping a defensive posture, saying, okay, Sortof, if you want to attack me, go ahead and attack me. I will be placed in a very nice position. I'll overwhelm you and take the advantage.
It's almost like Sortof seemed uncomfortable with that mutalisk Zergling style, was trying to force things to happen, which is the exact opposite Sortof has been playing with his Roach, Hydra, and Fester play. With the other play, he just literally waits and waits and waits and waits and waits and waits, and then he's maxed with the perfect army, and he goes. But in that game, it was, I'm going to run my Zerglings and Mutalisks to the top side of the map, guaranteeing that I can't run away. I'm either going to have to win the game now or kill a base or do something gigantic. And you just don't really need to take that risk when the distances are that enormous.
And you have to ask yourself, I mean, with that army, what builds do I actually defeat? What particular situations, after mutas, do I really penalize? Is it going to be Infestor play? Probably not. So I feel like the range of builds that he beats is very, very tiny. So he needs to rethink that. Nerve's been, playing a very unique style against Sortof.
So huge shout out again to iBuyPower. That match was brought to you by them. They're a big sponsor of the NASL, and of course a lot of the equipment here, the big computers, iBuyPower computers. So check them out, iBuyPower.com. Next match is going to be on Entombed Valley. Guys, don't go anywhere because we're going to be at match point coming.